Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we will be diving into AWS S3 bucket policy and how you can control who gets to access them using just something called resource-based policy. Did you know that you can allow users to access them without giving them an IAM policy? If you're curious, stick around because I'm going to show you exactly how to do that with live demos. Before we jump into the demo, let's quickly recap the basics. In AWS, there are two main ways to control access to resources like S3 bucket. We have the identity-based policy here. These are attached to IAM users, groups, or roles. We also have the resource-based policy. These are attached directly to the resource. In this example, I've attached this bucket policy to this bucket. The cool thing about resource-based policy is that you can grant access to a bucket or even a specific folder without needing to attach a policy to the user. Let me show you how this works in practice. Let me first remove this IAM user who has this S3 full access. Alright, let's start with the first demo. Here I have a S3 bucket name, demo bucket 123-1. I want to allow this specific user to read and upload files to this bucket without giving them an IAM policy. As you can see from this screen, there is no IAM policy attached to this user. So what we have here is a JSON policy which I attach to this bucket. And basically it says that the principal is assigned to this user, and these are the actions that we allow this user to have, and only for this bucket. Let's test whether this user can do all this action, whether they can get the object, get a file from this bucket and put a file inside this bucket. I've already pre-configured an access and secret key to this console. Let me show you. So right now we have this user, and I'm gonna do a S3 LS. We don't have any policy attached that allows us to list all the buckets. So what we have here is I'm gonna copy this and see whether we can do the same here. Okay. To prove that it works, I'm gonna show you what we have in the bucket. So what it has is a CTF flag and a secret flag. So let's move on to the next one, demo 2. So basically what I'm trying to show you is I'm gonna create a resource-based policy that allows a specific user to access a subfolder within the bucket, not anything in the bucket, but a subfolder. Let me show you the next one. As you recall, there is no IAM policy attached to this user. I've created demo bucket 123, and what this have is a data set and a secret flag. So if I demonstrate, it shouldn't be able to see the secret flag, and it can only see this CTF flag. What if you could grant access to just a subfolder within the bucket without exposing the entire bucket? So I've shown you that we have a data set here that has an object called CTF flag, and in this bucket I also have a file called secret.flag. So by right, this user cannot see this secret flag. I'm going to show you the resource-based policy that I did. So we have this same thing, principal attached to this user, and only for this data set, nothing else. And it can get and put object. Notice how the resource field now points to the subfolder called dataset. This means that this specific user can only access files within this folder and nothing else. Let's test this. So it cannot list anything inside the bucket, not even the secret flag. Let me show you. So I have this, it cannot see. Okay, however, what if I do this? Data set. it cannot see as well because I didn't give this user the permission to list the bucket. So it can only put a file and get the file. Let's test this out. So I'm gonna do a AWS CP. I'm gonna list the whole URL. I'm gonna get the ctf02.flag out, and I'm gonna put it here. So what do we have? We have a file called ctf02flag. Okay, great. So right now I'm just gonna test. I'm gonna create a file called test.flag, and I'm gonna copy this to the S3. Let me try this again. AWS S3. I'm gonna copy this flag to this. Okay, so well, if nothing goes wrong, we should be able to see the test.flag there. Okay, good. This user is able to put and pull object from this S3 bucket. What if the subfolder inside the S3 bucket is dynamic? You have no control, or you don't have a consistent file name. I've already created another bucket here, and we look at the resource-based policy. So the principles remains the same, and if you can see from this permission here, I've purposefully put a wildcard in front of it because this is what I'm gonna have, and put the dataset. You can have a dynamic folder and known subfolder. In this way, you can give the user access to the subfolder within a dynamic folder. And also you have condition like string like with the prefix wildcard here and a wildcard here. And I also added a deny, so the user cannot see anything inside the bucket as well. With string, not like in front there's a wildcard and a dataset. Let's see what we can do here. So I have a folder called 123. It should not be able to see this secret flag, and it can only access anything inside this dataset folder. Okay, so let's try again. So it is able to see the files inside dataset. Let me see whether we can list anything inside this subfolder. No, you can't. And also anything here? No, you can't either. So as long as you set, let me show you, as long as you set this policy with the wildcard, you can create any name in the folder. It doesn't matter because you only allow the user to access this folder called dataset. Finally, let's talk about roles. Sometimes you might just want to grant an access to an IAM role instead of IAM user. So in this in this bucket here, I've already created a role called S3 role, and what it does is basically allow it to do all this within this bucket itself. To allow a user to assume this role, I've also created this. Let me show you. Even though this user doesn't have any IAM policy attached to it, but is able to assume this role because I've updated the trust policy of this role for this to include this user. Let's test this out. Okay, I already paste the bash script to assume the role. Let's run this again. S3 role. Just make sure that it's correct. Okay, great. So click enter. Let's see what we have. Okay, good. Let me see if I'm able to see. I'm still not able to see my bucket tree. That's okay. S3 ls demo dash bucket 123-3. Great. So I'm able to see what's inside the demo bucket 123-3 because I set this resource-based policy to allow this S3 role to be able to see anything inside this bucket. And that's it. You just learn how to use S3 bucket policy to control access at different levels, whether it's an entire bucket, a subfolder within a folder, or a viral. You now have the tools to manage access securely. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more AWS cloud security tips and tutorials. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.